Does anyone know the IP rating of Big W shopping bags? That is pox. What is that? G'day guys, welcome to Mintlist, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Usually I do things on technology and I teach you how to build, grow and promote your brand through the power of technology and all that fun stuff, but I am an electrician and this is my channel, so I can do whatever I like on it. And I'm going to be reviewing photos from the crappy electrical group that almost has 19,000 members on it. I love looking at these. I wind down and I laugh and I just go, how do people do this? Obviously DIYers, but hopefully not actual electricians, because some of this stuff is insane. So I'm just going to scroll down. I'm just going to give you my reaction. This one here is sort of like, I mean, IP rating are overrated. It looks like it's been potentially pulled off the fascia, which is really common, to be honest. He's probably shown up at this job and just gone like, how funny is this? But that cover there, usually there's a cover and it's just not there. That's fully live exposed cables. I mean, that's just pox. Who does side by side with some Aussie duct cover in between? That is just pox. At least they're using a really good level. I mean, I would assume this comes from actually the person that's going to go and fix it. It's so ridiculous. This guy here, I saw this the other day. Zach, I like this one. This guy had a good one the other day. Tenants haven't had living room lights working for the last 15 months. Last Sparky just disconnected it at the switch. Guys, this is actually pretty common. So typically, if you're actually a tenant in a house, so you're renting, you might get the landlord go out just for a make safe. What likely has happened is that they're tripping out or something like that, and the Sparky might have got there. He's tested. It's what they call down to earth, or it's faulted directly between phases, and he's just turned it off. He's isolated it. He's made it safe. If this is somebody's house and they've waited 15 months to get a Sparky out, I mean, this is insane. Like, let's go check this out. This is bare. That looks like rats to me. This one here, the old plastic bag. Does anyone know the IP rating of Big W shopping bags? Oh, so good. Look, honestly, the stuff that goes on in domestic is crazy. This is why we have the Australian standards. And in the domestic industry, this is where it's most needed, these standards. And this is just, look, at least they've given it a go. I mean, obviously they've been in a rush. That is pox. What is that? Oh my God, I take back what I said before about the plastic bag. If you're doing that and then you're putting a plastic, what? Look at that. Oh my God. So talk about IP ratings and like, look at it floating around. That's just, you just don't do that, guys. These guys here that put it to the Tupperware. Literally put a Tupperware box on here. Like, that is a no-no. That is insane. I don't know what's going on with this plate here either, with the conduit coming through. I mean, it's not illegal or anything, but it just looks weird. Why don't you have a single entry? Yeah, and then also like the ingress, they've got some screws. I don't know what is. That's just crazy. All right, this is a super common problem. But here, what's happened is that they haven't put enough copper. They haven't folded it back and allowed enough, and it's just crimped down on the insulation. So sometimes I wonder, look, I'm not ashamed to say, like, this has happened, particularly early days, like this has happened to me. I've done this before. I mean, oh my God, I can't believe I've actually missed. I'm too busy looking too busy looking at this terrible thing. And then look at this. Neutral and active. What a deal. So, I mean, guys, that's just, I mean, look, I don't know what to say about that straight in there. Obviously a lapse in concentration or something. Scrolling down. Oh, baby, look at this. Yes. Oh my God, this is my wheelhouse too. Like, this is a 3-phase motor. That there looks like an owner of a company that's done it. It's that bad. You wouldn't know. If you're a Sparky and any sort of decent Sparky, you are not going to be pulling back that insulation like that and leaving it and then just screwing. That's just disgusting. I would never. I mean, that's just like take your license away, never come back to the trade, you piece of crap. Here we go. He's testing to the switch, and he's getting 121 volts. So obviously there's a fault there. I wonder if he was called out. So max voltage found was 159 volts at the lowest, was 50 volts. Thinking there's some moisture buildup in the switch. Every GPO was faulty, but none of the switch lights. Every GPO? That doesn't sound right. I don't know what's going on there. Unless somebody has got some grubby hands and been sticking their moist hands on the switches all over them and rubbing it. I mean, that's just... There's so much funny stuff here. I mean, oh, check out this video. That is insane. I mean, guys, this is just the power of electricity. If you see somebody doing electrical stuff, you're like, oh, I can do it myself. Like, this is quintessentially what can happen in your domestic switchboard. I mean, this has probably got a little bit more copper to burn, right? But what's the story with this one, hey? 32 amp RCBO for a 10 amp rated single construction Jeep. Okay, so a couple of things about how we rate appliances. Essentially, all GPOs are rated for up to 10 amps. That's the current flowing through it. You can get ones for 15 amps and you can get ones for higher, but more commonly they're 10 amps. But what we rate, because every single appliance will have a 10 amp, minimum 10 amp plug on it. So you would assume, and they have to, as per AS standard, have no more than 10 amps going through that piece of appliance if they put a 10 amp plug on it. It makes sense, right? So you can guarantee it's going to be below 10 amps when you plug it in, whatever the appliance is. But what we always do when we are protecting our circuits is we protect the cable. We always protect the cable, not the appliance. Now, I know this is different for different places. For Australian standards, we always protect the cable. So what he's saying is 32 amps is the amount that it will take before it will trip. So his issue is here that they're running what they call 2.5, which I talked about before, and it's typically rated from anywhere from, and depending on how it's installed, like around, let's average it to 20 amps. So what he would be afraid of is that this might get to 25 amps at a consistent rate, and it'll actually start to deteriorate and burn out and potentially cause a fire. And this won't trip. It won't trip because it's not getting past the 32 amps. But the thing is that you can't really put any more than 10 amps through this plug anyway. So even if you put a power board, right, your power boards have an overload on them. Pretty much everyone will have some sort of overload, and if you're using it for construction, you'll have like an RCD box that'll be rated. It'll have its own switch on it. So the actual likelihood or potential of something like this actually damaging or causing an issue is really low. But it's still actually a really good pickup. What probably happened was either there was a lapse in judgment, or they've just gone, oh, bugger it, I'm going to chuck it in. Maybe I'll come back later. Oh man. Really? Okay, customer lost power to an outdoor power point for an electric gate, then tried to make me believe that this junction box under the house was done by an electrician. Yes, there are Sparkies out there that will do poxy work. I've seen it. I've seen some seriously bad work knowing that it comes from an electrician. But also, there are people out there that will do their own work. 100%. Look, you just got to take them off their word. This is really badly done. I don't know. Oh, wow. Look, what have they done there? They look like they've stripped back this cable. Instead of like cutting it, what you would do is you would cut all those to the same length and then you would twist them all together. But what they've done is they've stripped back, kept it in line, stripped back the insulation, and then they've sort of joined it on. Like, that's pox. Nah. Look at the age of this bad boy. What? That's... Oh, God. Unfortunately, this is all too common. You see this so often, particularly in old factories. You know, like it's... Like electrical is the unseen. It's the unseen trade. Like if it's working, it's working. If it doesn't, it doesn't. People don't want to upgrade. It costs too money. You don't see it. It's not aesthetically pleasing. Like we think it is. When we do, you know, switchboard upgrades, we think it looks grouse. You know, and a lot of us take a lot of pride in like, you know, making sure that all our cables are the right way around and things like that. But, you know, stuff like that. It's just too old. It's too dangerous. You just got to get rid of it. I would not fix that. I wouldn't go near it. If someone came to me and I went in there, I would be like, mate, the only thing I'm doing is referring you on to somebody else because I don't want to borrow it. Not because I couldn't fix it, but just imagine all the other stuff that could be wrong in the place. I mean, it'd be just insane. The art of sending it. Yeah. What? This guy's dragging in a cable with like a remote control tank. This is so awesome. Dude, I remember a project we did where we had an overhead gantry. We were pulling in like 400mm mains, single SDIs, and we used the overhead gantry, and I thought that was cool. You know, it was remote controlled. This is he's actually drawing in a drawstring because I think the cables would probably be a bit too heavy, but that's so cool. What have we got here? Exposed cables. This is what I was talking about before. They've got exposed cables, but also they've gone in too far on one of them. So that's two different photos though. Like that's... Alright, so that's your earth, guys. Like, no copper should be showing anywhere. I don't care whether it's an earth. I mean, that's just... And this here, like, again, all of those straight in. And you know what? You can actually test these when they've got like no load on them, and you might actually break that insulation. And you get through and you test it and it's like, okay. And that's why it's so important. And this was done by Sparky, I guarantee it. Guarantee it. And I don't blame him. Like, that's just stuff that happens, right? Look, I am having an absolute ball, but I think this is going to have to be the last one I do. I don't think this is actually illegal. There is no... And guys, if somebody's watching this and they see, and they can correct me with the Australian standards, right? There is a rule of thumb. A lot of people will go off like no more than 5 cables within the bottom of a breaker or something like that. I've heard that before, but really what you're trying to do is make sure there's no undue stress on the cable and it's safe. This is not safe. You don't have to be an electrician to know that that is not okay. There's only a certain amount of room that goes into the bottom of a circuit breaker. So what do you have to do? You have to put you have to do like some sort of breakout or something like that. Like you have to put a bus bar in or something. But that's just not on. Like you just don't need to do that. What's really unfortunate, right, is that you probably get a couple of additions to your house. Maybe this is a decent sized house. It probably is. They've got an aircon. They've got a hot water service. Maybe they've got a heater. And these are all on separate circuits. And they're right to say that they actually need to bring them back individually. So each one should be brought back individually to the main switch. Because it's its own current carrying capacity for that given circuit, right? I think what's usually will happen is that you'll show up and they'll go, I need to add this. Maybe I'm adding another air conditioner. It needs another circuit, right? You go in, you add your circuit. You're like, now I've got to modify the whole board just to make sure my part goes in. I've quoted these guys like $800. And that's me scraping through. So what are you going to do? You know, what you shouldn't do is just poke it straight in, but that's what happens. This is reality of the electrical trade. You poke it in, you screw it up, you tug it a bit and go, yeah, that's good. Yep, let's move on. Let's get out of here. Let's get to the other job. And this is the issue with domestic work. Like, we are running it to the bone sometimes, guys. So, look, I'm not... Yeah, it's upsetting to see, but it's also like, you know, I understand how these things can happen. Right, I'm going to have to wrap it up there because this is just going for ages. But if you want me to do another one of these, I had an absolute ball. Thanks so much for listening in to Think List. Until next time, guys, catch you later.